Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live in Mackey Arena, following Purdue's 96-68 win over Rutgers, proving that the earth is not going to open up and swallow up Purdue the way many of you seem to believe it would after Purdue committed the unforgivable sin of losing a game this weekend. Once again, this is your goldenblack.com rap video following this Purdue win over Rutgers. It is brought to you by our friends at the Purdue Union Club Hotel. Thank you to them, as always, for their support. We appreciate it very much. Purdue's fine. I mean, I think there was no reason for panic after the Ohio State game. That obviously does not stop people from panicking. People lose games. But what tonight was a reminder, as if one was needed, that Purdue is really freaking good. You don't beat Rutgers like this. You don't do this against Rutgers the way Rutgers is constructed, against the way in which Rutgers has really resuscitated its program under Steve Peichel. This is a defensive program. This is a rebounding program. This is a toughness program. And Purdue scored 96 points and shot 63%. 58.9%, my bad. Just a dominant flexing of the muscles, so to speak. And that's kind of that. As soon as there is a blueprint against Purdue, and it's something that just kind of happens sometimes, the turnovers leading to opponent's offense, that is the common denominator of Purdue's 3 losses, and it is the only story from those losses. You can pick and choose whatever else you want, fine, but it is the only story, the fact that opponents have averaged 20 points off turnovers against Purdue in the 3 games Purdue has lost. What you saw here tonight was a reminder of when the garbage points go sideways on Purdue, when offensive rebounds happen, when turnovers happen that lead to opponents' offensive opportunities, things don't click for Purdue. As soon as they clean that up, this was over. As soon as Purdue stopped turning the ball over for layups the other way, for scores the other way, as soon as Purdue got Rutgers off the offensive glass. Now, this was kind of deceiving. They had 5 offensive rebounds in like the first 4 minutes of the game. Ended up with only 7. So that is obviously represents Purdue completely shutting their water off. But also, those 5 offensive rebounds, I think 3 of them were on like the same play. So it's really hard to say that, Purdue had an offensive rebounding problem to start this game. But as soon as the offensive rebounds got cleaned up, as soon as the turnovers got cleaned up, this was over. Because this was one of those nights where everything kind of clicked for an elite offensive team against... Look, Rutgers was number 2 nationally in defensive efficiency, according to our good friend, Mr. Pomeroy. They were number 1 in the Big Ten. This is not a team that gives up 96 points. This is not a team that gives up 75 points hardly ever. Purdue scored 68 points in Piscataway and won a few weeks back. They scored almost 30 more points here tonight. They were 12 of 23 from 3, a welcome sight, after Purdue had not had one of these 3-point outbursts lately. You get your ho-hum Ross-Ade game where he's 7 of 8 from the floor, scores 25 points, does not turn the ball over, goes 11 of 11 from 3-point. That would be something, wouldn't it? That would be a story. Ross-Ade did not go 11 of 11 from 3-point range. He went 11 of 11 from the foul line. He has made 19 in a row. That is really something, and something that was a welcome sight for Purdue, which had been kind of uneven at the foul line. They were 20 of 20 at Ohio State, wasted it. They were 18 of 20 here against Rutgers. For all of you Purdue University mathematicians, that is 38 of 40 over a 2-game span. That is really good. That is really good. And obviously you need it when you need it most, when games are closer, things like that. But Purdue's on a real roll at the foul line. Purdue shot the hell out of the ball from 3-point range. Purdue really flexed its muscles here in this game and kind of showed off its depth, its proliferation of weapons. I don't know if that's the sort of thing I can say on video without getting blocked or censored or monitored by the FBI. But Cam Heide is a guy who's not a primary scorer for this team. He's just an opportunist. He's a really good athlete. He's a good kind of garbage man right now in his career. He's not the sort of guy you ever envision doing this sort of thing, going 7 of 7 from the floor, 4 for 4 from three-point range, finishing with 18 points off the bench. Just an unbelievable game for him. He made great decisions. I thought the thing that stood out about him was when you're a young player and you're making every jumper you take, but you still have the presence of mind to make the right decisions and attack the basket when the opportunity presents itself. That is sort of presence of mind, level-headedness, and maturity that kind of belies his experience level. Just an unbelievable game from him, and I don't think unbelievable is overstating it. Those sort of things are normally for YouTube graphics, overreactionary videos. We don't try not to do that here, but this was an unbelievable game for Camden Heide. Again, ho-hum, Ross-Ade, 7 of 8, 25 points. Again, I don't need to just go on and on every game about how awesome he is, how great he is, where he stacks up in Purdue history, where he stacks up in college basketball history. Obviously, all of those things are favorable, but you know the deal by now. Now, Braden Smith, this was, there were a couple of really ugly turnovers that were part of the issue in the first half that kept this a game. But this was kind of, this was All-American Braden Smith. This was, some of his best. He made his jump shots. In the first half, at least, I think he was 5 of 5, whether it was jump shots, getting to the basket, whatever it might have been. He finishes 5 of 10, but obviously this game was over at halftime, so that stuff doesn't really matter. Just played really well, really had an answer on the fly for everything Rutgers did. I thought he really handled their varying looks against ball screens really well. I'll diagnose a little more of this tomorrow. But I think some of the best plays you can make against that are the ones where you just pass the ball off before you even get trapped. And there was a play early in the game where he knew, I got to get rid of the ball. And that sort of presence of mind, that sort of awareness, that sort of ability to acclimate to what's happening right in front of you is really a big part of what makes him special. And Purdue could not have its offense in better hands this season than it does with Braden Smith. I don't know what the state of point guard play is in college basketball, but if there's somebody better than him at not only the tangible stuff, but the intangible stuff, the fact he's an elite competitor, the fact he sets a tone for this whole team from a competitive perspective, stuff like that. He's just been brilliant for Purdue this season. And I don't think you can even overstate how good he's been. But, I talked about Camden Heide before as one of those kind of weapons that Purdue just kind of has lying in wait. Miles Colvin you can put in the same boat. He's a guy who can come in and make a couple of threes on short notice. Trey Kaufman-Wren's a guy, if you put him in Ross-Ade's role from a proliferation of touches perspective, a prominence within the offense perspective, you would get really big numbers. Purdue's just got a lot of guys outside of its core unit there, which I consider to be Ross-Ade, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer. Lance Jones obviously part of that now, and he goes 1 of 10 at Rutgers and comes back with 7 of 14 shooting in this game, 17 points, makes 3 of 8 threes. I'm just reading the box score at this point. What the hell do I talk about? Purdue won by 1,000 points against a team you shouldn't be able to score that many points against. This is one of those games where, you saw what happened. I can't really add a whole lot more to it, but I do get paid by the word, so I do have time to fill on video here. So I am just rambling at this point. But obviously a damn near flawless performance by Purdue. When you look at, what Rutgers did to make it a game in Piscataway, when you look at what Rutgers has, Jeremiah Williams has transformed them. He's made them a much different team than they were a couple weeks ago. He doesn't really impact the game all that much. He picks up 2 fouls. That's the Ross-Ade factor, because I think those first 2 fouls in the first half were committed against Edey. So that's more of that intangible hidden productivity that Ross-Ade brings to Purdue. Cliff Amore, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Not the Italian word for like love, but he's a complete non-factor in this game. You have a guy who's a double-digit rebounder, thereabouts, who gets 3 rebounds in this game and scores 4 points, and one of those baskets came in garbage time over Caleb First. Like, complete non-factor. Their 2 best players, Cliff is minus 22. Jeremiah Williams, who I guess I have to consider one of their best players now, he just showed up a couple weeks ago but has made that level of impact, is minus 13. Neither of them really did much of anything. Nobody did anything. Rutgers only kept this competitive because Purdue just turned the ball over. And, there were a couple offensive rebounds there that Purdue could have done a better job against. Outside of a couple warts on the first 5 minutes of the game, outside of that, this was damn near a perfect performance by Purdue. Almost the perfect game. And just, again, a flexing of the muscles by what is one of college basketball's best teams, regardless of the fact that they lost the close game, a quad 1 loss on the road in the Big Ten on Sunday, to the point where people made it sound like the earth was going to swallow itself up into some black hole and just cease to exist. Relax, folks. Everyone loses games. There's a reason that no one in college basketball has been perfect since like the 70s. There have been teams, thinking of Duke specifically, that have had NBA rosters, arguably the greatest coach of all time, who's played as hard as anyone, were really good on defense. They lost games. It is what happens in college basketball. Everyone loses, and I think the last 36 hours should really have slapped everyone in the face with that reality, because as soon as Purdue loses at Ohio State, UConn gets boat raced at Creighton, and then Illinois yesterday, who has kind of become the anti-Purdue to a certain extent in the court of public opinion, the court of mindless Twitter debate. They completely blow it at Penn State, and it happens. It doesn't mean that one team has supplanted another as the best team in the country. They are what they are. They're all good. They're all great, but they're all going to lose games. Just everything seems overheated right now in terms of how people perceive college basketball, how people view college basketball, how they react to college basketball. And I think a lot goes into that. And a lot of it is the media's fault. A lot of it is social media's fault. But I think there's just a presence of mind. I've used that term I don't know how many times now in the last 13 minutes and 3 seconds. There's a presence of mind that everyone kind of needs to have during these long, eventful seasons that sometimes have their ups and downs. People expect perfection. People are quick to jump off cliffs. It's not the nature of college basketball. I have been doing this long enough to know that stuff happens and to not overreact to every little thing. People who only now show up and start having prominent platforms, or are simply in it to monetize the overreaction, they're not portraying to you reality. That's just me talking to you here, man to man, man to woman, man to bot, man to porn spammer, whatever it might be here. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you for listening to my little soapbox spiel here. Hey, if you like these videos, and why in the hell would you? I would appreciate it if you did me a favor. Apparently liking, subscribing, all that stuff, that's important. If you could do that, I always forget to ask people to do that. So if you could, I'd appreciate it. If you don't like these videos, you can keep that to yourself. If you want to comment, hey, great. If you have nothing productive to say, please don't. If you're a porno site, if you're trying to sell me crypto, no, just stay away, go somewhere else. Okay, so finally, from Purdue's 96 to 68, throttling. Can we say throttling? We can say throttling. We can say annihilation. We can say a lot of different things. Purdue's 96 to 68 win. Let's just leave it at that, over Rutgers. This is Brian Neubert from goldenblack.com. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening, and thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. And thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel once again for your support. We appreciate it very much. Let me know when your location in Ann Arbor, Michigan opens up. Because if it does before this weekend, I still don't have a hotel reservation. So that's when I'll talk to you guys next. Sunday from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I will be full of Zingermans. And I would have to think Purdue would be coming back from a pretty decent win, maybe. Michigan's had kind of a rough go with things, but that's a topic for another time. So thank you, everybody.